Welcome in, Wolvesers and fellow Hollow Nation. It has been quite the week this week, quite the last 24 hours, and we're here to break that down for you guys. Kevin, Pat, Tom, all here. Yes, I said me in the third person. Let's get into it. How about them Wolves? What do you guys think?
I think congratulations are in order first. Rudy Gobert becoming a father, missing the game, didn't matter. We did not need him regardless, but also becoming a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. That was announced this evening as well. So congrats, Rudy, on becoming a father, and now tied with, I think it's Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace is the only other 4-time Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's one of 3, I believe. Don't quote me on it, but
I guess I didn't realize Ben Wallace had 4. I knew it was 3, but I didn't realize it was 4.
Pretty cool. Give Rudy his flowers. He deserves it. I mean, individual awards aside, we got bigger goals ahead, but hey, it's still fun to celebrate 6th Man of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. It means you're doing something right.
What an absolute beatdown.
Yeah, kind of a boring basketball game.
Honestly, it was the most entertaining 30. I mean, usually if you're getting beat by 30 points, it is pretty boring. But if you're winning by 30 points, it's pretty exciting.
I know.
And not only were they winning by 30 points, they crushed their spirit. They crushed their souls. I think this is a 4-game sweep. I don't see how Denver could. They're for sure not going to win the series, even if they somehow muster enough adrenaline and enough momentum to win a game, but they're done.
They're done.
They were done in the second quarter. They gave up. They were done.
Jamal Murray.
They threw the literal towel in.
Oh, and we can certainly talk about that as well, but Jamal Murray was in hell that entire game. I mean, and clearly something is off, right? I know he hurt his calf in the first series, so he does not look like he's 100% right now, but Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jaden McDaniels just absolutely smothered Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., and Jokic had a bad game. I mean, I think you could probably go down the list and say that maybe Justin Holiday had the best overall game for the Denver Nuggets in that game there. So just the defensive intensity was there literally from the start to the finish of that game. So it was really cool. And I was catching a little bit of the Oklahoma City Dallas game prior to jumping on here, and that intensity is not there with any of these other teams. So the Wolves have something different right now, and different is very good when you're talking NBA playoffs.
It is incredible to see a team unravel the way Denver did, considering they're not just an average team. They're not the Wolves from a few years ago. They're the reigning defending champions. And they unraveled in game 2 of the second round in the second quarter. Actually, in the first quarter. The minute came out on the court, it was over. Right then and there. When he's losing it and getting in the face of the referee, I understand you're trying to light a fire, but that was not evident. And it didn't. The team didn't respond in the way that maybe that's what he was intending, but you could just tell that they are feeling the pressure. They're feeling their season slipping away, and that's exactly what's happening. This is a series that they could get fired from. I wouldn't be surprised if Malone got fired after this 4-game sweep. That's how pathetic it was for the Denver Nuggets.
Well, you're giving Denver a little bit too much credit here. I mean, you listen to Malone and his post-game presser, he seems defeated. We got to figure something out because whatever we're doing isn't working. And sure, they haven't looked good, but all the credit's due to Chris Finch and Mike Nori, and I mean, Denver's not shooting the ball very well, but that's because they're not just missing wide open shots. They're literally not getting open shots. They're shooting off one leg. Michael Porter Jr.'s jump shots were all forced over 2 defenders, fading away 2 feet behind the line. Not getting good looks. We're not giving them a chance to get good looks. We're not giving them the chance to set up their offense with Joker and letting him facilitate to Gordon, MPJ, Murray, whatever has been working in the past. It has not worked at all. You saw a few of the analysts on TNT really do a good job about breaking down how the Timberwolves are playing so well and what makes them so special and so different this year. It's not just a flash in the pan. It's legitimate in the regular season, and now into the postseason. They're really applying the top defense, why we are the top defense, and have the defensive player of the year, and can play our best defensive game of the season without Rudy Gobert. So
I guess what I'm not
awesome.
trying to allude that the Nuggets are losing this series, because that's not the fact. The Wolves are just taking it. They're absolutely taking it from them. They're punching him in the mouth, and they're saying, "This is mine. Get the hell out of here." But the way that Denver is responding to it, they're crushing them. They're getting crushed mentally, and so they're just unraveling. But that's, like you said, Kev, due to that suffocating defense, the good game planning, and then hitting some shots.
And it's kind of the same thing that we saw in the Phoenix series, where the perimeter defense we are just getting under the skin of these guards on the opposing teams. And these are guys who have lived a lot of, or their points per game averages have been heavily inflated by getting to the free throw line in the regular season. So when you're talking about playoff basketball, and they're not calling these wishy-washy fouls as much as they do in the regular season, that plays to the benefit of Minnesota so much. And I think there's going to be, everybody can complain about refereeing, right? I'm sure there were calls either way that could have, kind of gone down the line that didn't get called. But honestly, the way that the playoffs are kind of playing out right now, I'm glad that even some of the calls that we have are not getting called, and they're calling it somewhat down the middle so that we can continue to be this intense and taking these guys to the rim. I mean, I think it was like 26 combined steals and blocks that the Wolves had in that game. Like, they were just hounding the ball the entire time, which it's just unheard of. And I think it was 4 shot clock violations that the Nuggets had.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I've never seen anything like that. And this is one of the most composed basketball teams in the league. Again, we're talking about a team that won the championship last year. This is not a pushover team. The Wolves have gotten under their skin, and when you're just complaining to the refs about foul calls the entire time, that's not going to win you a playoff series. Like, you need to be tough. You need to have composure. And it's so different from just 1 year ago. Like, the Wolves in the playoffs last year, Jaden McDaniels punching the brick wall, Rudy Gobert punching Kyle Anderson. This was not a mentally tough team. And it is just so odd to see the roles completely reverse, both with the Phoenix team in round 1 and then this Denver team as well. So they're just showing their maturity and just seeing this team grow, and Chris Finch, Mike Inori, how they have helped this team gel together. There's something special brewing in Minnesota right now. And I still don't know if it's a 4-game sweep. But I also said that in the Phoenix series, but it's going to be really tough for Denver to punch back now that we've taken away their home court advantage entirely now too, and get to come back to Target Center.
The crazy part is I still think that we're not playing our best. I mean, Naz Reid said it after the game in his interview with Michael Grady, who was there not announcing, but he's just there for the post-game interview with Naz. So that's pretty cool that he still gets to travel and watch the team play. Been with him so far this year. It'd be weird to just be at home. But yeah, we still have a ways to go. Like, we're playing really good, but we did all that without Gobert. Of course, we're going to feel like there's more in the tank. I just looked up. We shot a 39% from 3. So that's a decent clip for a game, 13 made threes. But I felt like we could have really taken the roof off. Like, how many open threes did we have in the corner that just bricked off? I felt like we were shooting kind of poor for how well we were playing. Possession after possession, we'd get a steal. We'd go down, guy in the corner, wide open, miss. Then we'd go back, get another stop, play a good defense. So it's just, if we get it to fully translate from the suffocating defense into wide open buckets and big points, it's going to be next level. And that happens.
Yeah, the
we're winning it
offense
all.
in the third quarter did kind of stall a little bit. I think part of it was they're up by 26. You know, it's tough to really keep that momentum going. You're kind of in cruise control a little bit. They got a little complacent. There was a lot of standing around on offense, which I know has kind of been the issue all season long. That sometimes their ball movement doesn't go too well. And then they were I think they missed 4 layups like in a row in the third quarter too, where there was that one Conley and Ant had a 2-on-1, and they kind of Denver played decent defense, but Conley kind of got mixed up if he was going to go for the layup or not. So they did kind of play a little sloppy in the third quarter offensively. But thing that is always consistent is that defense. And that's the thing they can rely on every single quarter. They're not going to shoot the lights out like they did in the second quarter every single quarter, but that defense will be killer every quarter. Pat, kind of back to your point about the refereeing. I want Ant and Cat. I don't want them to complain about a single foul call they have the rest of the playoffs, because they have been calling it the way we want them to call it. You know, they've let us play a little bit. We're playing good defense, but we're also playing physical. So if whatever they call on Ant and Towns, I'm okay with, because they're going to let us play our game on the other end of the court, which is, you know, way more effective than a little tic-tac foul here or there.
And I think you saw that as the game was getting late and our lead was growing back. We understood. I mean, Cat got called for a foul. Nas got called for a foul. Jaden still is in foul trouble the whole game, but, like, they understand. They go and they grab him and say, hey, we're up big. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Relax. Keep doing what you're doing. If you fall out, you fall out. Like, it's the playoffs, you know? You can't get too caught up in the moment. We're seeing kind of that growth that, hey, this means something bigger. We keep our composure. Don't let it get to our head. It's just, like you said, they are calling it the way that we want them to call the game, probably, if you're the coaching staff for the Wolves. And I was upset with every foul call, just like we have been all year. I mean, Jamal Murray's wrapping up Jaden under the basket and doesn't even let him get up a shot, and they don't call a foul. I'm screaming at the TV. But at the end of the day, here we are just nitpicking a 26-point lead.
But overall, that is going to benefit our
100%.
style of play on defense. It sucks for that possession, but the grand scheme of things, that's the way the Wolves are going to win games, is by beating the hell out of teams. And as long as they're not calling it,
Totally agree.
play physical. And so I'm okay with McDaniels getting tied up once by Jamal Murray. No team is going to be able to physically do that every possession. They're going to wear out. The Wolves will not wear out.
I think the one caveat here are the no techs. And Kev, you alluded to Jamal Murray throwing the heat pack on the floor earlier. Yeah. That was incredibly dangerous. Like, if someone slips on that and falls down, cracks their head, that is just an absolute idiotic thing to do in a basketball game. And I know in the heat of the moment, like, the ref might not have seen Jamal Murray throw that on the court, but that came from the bench. Like, that is a team tech any day of the week. And obviously now we know that there's no suspension coming from that. But well, literally, Jamal Murray has been one of their worst players on the court. Yeah, and
I want him
it's
out
no
there.
excuses, right? This team, the Wolves team, don't want a team at half strength. They want to take it to the full strength Denver Nuggets team. But that is such a dangerous play. That needs to there needs to be a technical foul. Yeah,
it was Bush League.
It's absolutely awful. And he also threw a towel at a ref and missed him. And of course the money symbol. And I don't know how the fines work in the NBA. I don't know if you can only get fined up to a maximum amount, but it came out, Shams reported that Jamal Murray's getting fined $100,000 for throwing the heat pack out on the floor. And that's it. Rudy Gobert got fined $100,000 for throwing the money sign earlier this season. So if you're talking the same fine for putting player safety, and it wasn't just the Timberwolves, that could have easily been a Denver Nugget player that slipped on that heat pack on the court, and somebody could have gotten hurt. So that is just completely inexcusable. And for those fines, again, I don't know the inner workings of the dollar amounts for fines, or if there is a maximum, and if that is 100,000, but that's absurd to me, especially. And we know the Ant tech from game 1 got rescinded. We talked a little bit about that last episode, but when you're talking about stare downs being called the tech, and Mike Malone running across the court to scream in refs' faces and that not getting called, and then things being thrown onto the court of play, that's just inexcusable reffing. Things like that need to be taken care of in the game, especially when player safety is a consideration.
But also, isn't it like great? Because they got under their skin so much that they're just looking like fools. I mean, they look like idiots. I mean, Malone looked like an idiot going out there. I mean, Jamal Murray looks like the biggest baby ever. Like, he just kind of he wrecked his reputation.
I stayed up until they were done recording last night. It was so great on TNT. I love that show. I don't know if you guys saw any of those clips, but Shaq and Chuck got into it about the foul call where Malone came out. He wasn't arguing the foul call that just happened. He was arguing the Jamal Murray.
Right.
That's why he was so heated.
And Shaq's
the charge. He can charge. Be a man. Yeah. Put your body into it. Stand up. Be a man. Yeah. I'm like, hell yeah, Shaq. Let's go.
Those guys.
Well, totally agree with Shaq to a certain extent. Not Cat's fault that he's getting guarded by a 6'4", 100-pound less guard. Like, it's not his fault. If somebody's trying to guard you who's smaller than you, you're going to take advantage of the matchup and you're going to back him down the same you would Jokic. If he so happens to fall over in the process, you're doing your job. Like,
also,
I mean,
he was moving. He was moving his feet. He wasn't even set. You're going to take a charge, do it right.
Right. If you are going to try to take a charge and you know you're a smaller player, then play like a smaller player and try to take the charge. Don't exactly. So it can't work both ways on a play like that. But here we are just getting worked up about plays that didn't really matter in the grand scheme of the games.
On that very play, and they didn't show in any of the replays right before that, but it looked like Jamal Murray had at least reached in on Cat right before he backed him down too. So, and of course, I think he
did it twice.
I think he did as well.
Correctly. I think he mugged him twice.
Right, and so that too could be
that's why they let him play
type call too, or no call in that instance.
Let's go back.
I just find it funny,
guys. Did you guys think
it was
at
gold.
Halftime they didn't know what to say? Like, they were I think they were so shocked at what they were witnessing. They had no idea what they were watching.
I don't think that those guys have watched any Timberwolves basketball throughout the season. And to be fair, the Wolves had 5 nationally televised games the entire season, which was a huge miss regardless. But yeah, they have no idea what the Timberwolves can do. And again, I've said this before, but this is not the same Timberwolves team that we saw in the regular season. This team is equipped to play physical basketball, and it's just a completely different animal than this regular season team. But I think it was Chuck who said that this was the best defensive game that he has seen ever. And I agree. I mean, like, but for an NBA player to say that, it was just incredible.
A guy who played in the era of defense, like, who played against Michael Jordan, who played against Rodman. It's just crazy I trust him when he talks about something like that, where he's comparing his era. Sure, he says a lot of dumb stuff, but, like, when he said that, I'm like, that's really cool. I mean, a lot of people agreed. It wasn't just him. Like, Stephen A's raving about us now. Like, all the big talking heads are getting on. I mean, KG's had our back since the playoffs started, but it's just cool to kind of have that recognition. It's slowly building. We kept talking about that on the previous pods, that people are going to catch on, not just Minnesota, but they're going to start realizing what's going on here. And hey, if we go out Friday and we dominate again, it's series over, but people have to start taking us legitimately seriously. And you saw the shift with Vegas odds already shifting. I believe we're plus 290 as of today.
That's the second highest odds behind Boston, correct?
Boston's
like
at
year
plus
one.
100.
Is it 100 or
Yeah, even money.
do we want them to be talking up the Wolves like this? I mean, do
I don't
we
care.
want? I mean,
I don't
we're
think
gonna
they care either.
the team or what?
We're so locked in. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people believe in us or don't believe in us. Whatever they have going on, regardless of what anyone's saying, what we're saying on this podcast, doesn't matter.
I agree with Kev, and I think part of that, like we talked about, this might have been 3 or 4 episodes ago, but we talked about how this ownership conundrum, all this happening in the middle of a playoff run or about to endure a playoff run, and this team is just they don't care. Like they do not care, and I think just the mental fortitude that this team has is so different from previous Wolves iterations that it doesn't matter. Now, me, on the other hand, as a fan who has seen this Timberwolves franchise falter, of course it scares me. Is it a setup? Everybody's feeling good. I'm getting gassed up. Like, oh yeah, this is a true championship contender. But I feel different about this team. This team feels different. They feel special. And I was trying to think, like, what other Minnesota sports team have I felt this good or this confident about? And I think I had to go back to the '09 Vikings. I think that was the last time that I felt this good about a team. And obviously we know how that ended, but this just feels different.
I think I've honestly even crossed that bridge. So I think I said that before, that I haven't felt that good since then, but I think it's more than that, honestly. It's one thing to say, I think we have a chance to make it to the finals, but now, with how they're looking, not just winning, but how they're looking as a team, defensively, I think we can match up with anybody. I mean, Boston's not even looking that good. So,
Didn't they
I don't know.
They look pretty good tonight.
Tatum didn't have a good
Cleveland's
night.
not good. Cavs aren't.
No. They have one player.
Yeah.
And some length, but yeah. It should be not a very competitive series out there until they play the Knicks, I'm guessing.
Going into Monday night, game 2, I was nervous. Sunday night. What day is it today?
Tuesday.
What day it is today? Tuesday. Okay. On Monday night, I was nervous because I am your basic average Minnesota fan. Pat, what you said, is this a setup? Are we just, are we going to get the rug pulled out from underneath us? And this team comes out and blows them out by 26. That, I think, it's the biggest confident booster as a fan, that, like, our faith has been rewarded in a sense. Like, they're not going to just... Will they win it all? Deep down, I think they will. Maybe not, though. But they're not. But they're
you
not.
Can't decide.
They're not gonna pull the rug out from underneath you. You know what I mean? They're not gonna. They're gonna be at the very least competitive, and they will have a chance on winning it. They're not gonna go play Dallas or OKC and get
right.
No, they're not gonna do something like that. If they're gonna lose, they're gonna lose in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I feel like the window is more open now than it ever will be. You never know in the NBA, like what's going to happen if Victor Wembanyama becomes just which we all think he's going to be, like just this unbelievable superstar that can carry teams. The Spurs are going to jump up next year. You never know. Like Rudy Gobert's getting a little bit older. This team's getting expensive. This could be the window right now, and they have to pounce. And obviously, with the confidence that they're playing right now, they also believe that they can win a championship with this core and with this team. So I have fully bought in. I actually purchased some victory cigars after the Phoenix win. So these are sitting there. So we'll see when these get cracked, because I think I said a few episodes ago, like, I wanted to get to the Western Conference Finals. Like, why settle for a second round loss? So I think right now we're kind of playing with house money a little bit in terms of what we would consider to be a success for this season. But as I just mentioned, windows close very, very quickly. You never know what injuries could happen or what kind of the future holds. So you need to, while that window's open, kick it through and make your stamp and make your mark. Because I think, Tom, I'm with you. This team can win a championship.
I think I said that a couple episodes ago that if they won a series or after the Phoenix series, that it was a successful season. And it definitely is. And Pat, you're right. We are playing with house money. So anything extra is just cherry on top. But this team, the average person kind of thinks about game 2. Okay, we stole game 1 in Denver. Game 2, if we don't win, no big deal. We split it on the road. This team didn't do that. They said, we're going to take game 2 also. And we're also going to beat you down. We're going to embarrass you in your home crowd. And we're going to set the tone for the rest of the series and the rest of the playoffs and send a message to the rest of the league.
Yep.
So
And how about not only sending a message to the rest of the league for this year, but for the future? Like Pat mentioned, like, we're here. Like, if this keeps developing, if Ant takes this leap like he has, he's here. He's 22 years old. He has so much more room to grow in this league as a superstar. If he gets to that point this year, look out, because whatever we surround him with, I mean, we didn't even mention Cat. We're sitting here half an hour into the podcast. Towns had probably his best game of the year. Offensively, defensively, he's efficient. He's guarding the league MVP all by himself. I mean, we still have our swarming team defense, which has just been awesome to see with Naz Reid and Jaden and Nah, and even Conley's going in there and swiping the ball down. It's just so fun to watch. And I think I texted you guys during the game. I was like, I don't think I've ever had this much fun watching a game.
Yep.
Like, offense is fun. And I even heard like some of the announcers saying this during the game. Like, it's a different type of team, but it's a different type of entertainment. Like, defense is selling tickets. Who would have thought that? Not offense.
It's wins. And the defense is
wins.
winning
And Tom,
games.
you said this last episode. Are we seeing what teams are going to try and target for the future, right? The Wolves have created this blueprint now of defensive intensity, 2 bigs, 3 bigs if you count Naz, who are getting high rotation minutes. So we're getting away from this guard dominant game, and it's easy to say that when we have Anthony Edwards on the roster, but this is a different team. And I saw someone on Twitter post, it was something about Tim Conley, and can you imagine Tim Conley built the greatest team in the world in the Denver Nuggets, and then he leaves to go build their kryptonite, like the only team that can take them down.
That's what movies are made of.
Did you see the next meme with Tim Conley? This picture of him sitting in the crowd, and he's just thinking. And the caption is, "I bet I could turn the Detroit Pistons into a Eastern Conference."
There's a report, or I think it was great friend of the show, Doogie, had said that Detroit has a very high interest in bringing Tim Conley to the Pistons this in the offseason. And Tim Conley has an opt-out. He has an opt-out. So I like that always is going to scare me. And that'd be
so funny.
So
I wouldn't even be mad.
He would not.
That's
like
hilarious.
There's no way he ends up in Detroit. I don't see that. But if there's a team right now, I don't know. What if the Lakers or something like that come calling and decide to fire their GM, or I don't know, if that scares me a little bit. Just the fact that there is a little bit of an opt-out with some of this ownership turbulence currently fluttering in the air. But I don't want to harp on this negative energy, because we are.
No, I think he loves it here.
I hope so.
So I wouldn't be worried at all. And you have Ant. Like, sure, you had Joker, you drafted Joker, you turned him into an MVP. Ant's only 22.
But also,
sure, he didn't draft Ant, but like, he has a chance to build around Ant for his whole career. You're not going to just leave that for Detroit or anywhere. So,
but if the Wolves win a championship this year, don't you think he feels like, well, he needs a new challenge? I mean, he might be just that type of person where he needs a new challenge. And he kind of, to me, seems like he's the new Brian Colangelo. Remember
I don't know who that is.
he was with the
Yep.
it was the Raptors, and then I think he went
Was
somewhere
it
else.
Philadelphia?
And it might have been Philadelphia, or was that Jerry
Maybe.
Colangelo? But he took over USA Basketball too, and he took it over after the 2004 debacle. He took the 08 Redeem team. I think he kind of was the mastermind over that. But it just seemed like at the time, anybody that was trying to revamp their basketball roster and their basketball team, they were reaching out to Brian Colangelo, and Tim Connolly seems like he's kind of turning into that guy in the league now.
Should we get into Kev's tweets here? I've got the itch.
Sure.
All right.
Also, 30 minutes. We didn't touch on Cat at all. That was, like you said, Kev, that was his absolute best game for sure in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it was great.
I told you
everybody
guys
played
player
great.
Of the game.
Right. I feel like we just don't need to touch on everybody because everybody played great. There's nobody who was missing. It was just such an awesome game, and I'll get into that with one of the tweets I found as well.
Even Luka Garza looked
Luka.
Yeah, it was fun to see those guys get 3 minutes there at the end of the game and see the bench get totally hyped and Leonard Miller just airball a 3.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. But
he's the future.
The
All right, so
look good.
This is a stat that was pretty cool. Clutch Points put out. So in the last 38 days, the Denver Nuggets have lost 3 games at home, and all 3 were to the Wolves. Okay. 3 weeks into the playoffs after the defending champs are down 0-2 in the series, only 7.3% of teams in this position have come back to win. So that's the scary reality that we're talking about here. Going to Minnesota with a 7.3% chance of turning the ship around would, it honestly feels like it should be less based off how they played. And the scarier reality for the rest of the league is the Wolves have now won 6 straight playoff games. If they win the next one, which would make it 7, the last team to win their first 7 playoff games and ended up winning the championship was the Warriors. 7 years ago. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Iguodala, Durant, Draymond. So they're breaking what we know about basketball. They are the first team to find a blueprint for stopping the best player in the world. One big stays with Jokic, and the other stays in the paint. With the length and toughness surrounding that, it works. And on the other end, we got 22 years old in his 3rd playoffs, and has transformed what an average offense in the regular season and then the number 1 offense in the playoffs. So that goes on and talks about how the whole league is going to have to figure out how to stop us. It's cool. It's real. Look at the graphic there with Rudy and his kid.
And the baby. Again, it's kind of like, I don't even know, and I'm not a NBA coach, not an elite basketball mind by any means, but it's like, how do you game plan for it? Because what the Wolves have are things you can't really coach. They have the length, they have the intensity, and they have the willing to play defense. So it's like, how do you, I don't know what you're supposed to do if you're Denver,
right,
except for make all your shots.
So we talked about everybody chipping in, right? Look at this. This is where it makes me believe. Sure, it's plus minus, but I feel like it's one of the best stats in basketball. It's your impact that you have on the game. Like, when you're on the court, does your team succeed? Jane McDaniels is leading the NBA in plus minus, and yes, he only has 5 points and 1 made shot, I think, in this series alone. Plus 88. Anthony Edwards, tied for the lead, plus 88. Obviously, he's averaging 36 points a game. Absurd. Mike Conley, plus 78. Rudy Gobert, plus 74. Plus 54. Cat, plus 44. Everybody. Offense, defense.
And that's
crazy.
That's in less games than the other teams, too.
Yeah, 6 games.
They've only played 6 games compared to other people who had, longer first-round series.
True. But it's cool. It's cooler to see how much of an impact we're having, and believe in the stats is one thing, but to just use your eyes for once. I love all these nerds on on Twitter and on TV, and they're trying to break down, the analytics and what does this mean and the matchups and all that. It's just turn on the TV and watch and see in person the impact that they're having, like how frustrated the other team is getting. Sure, they're the more desperate team, but desperation doesn't always lead to success.
Yeah.
And Vegas got it wrong.
Look at Jaden McDaniels.
Favorites.
Like Kev, you just hit the nail on the head there. If you're not watching the games and you can't see the defensive impact that he's making, and you see a 0-point game or a 5-point game, you have no idea just how valuable he has been to this team. And that plus minus, I mean, completely is valid, because he has an impact defensively. He just takes the other team's best player out of the game, and it's so cool to watch.
And how great is to hear Ant's press conferences too.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that.
Yeah, he brings up Jaden McDaniels, pretty much says everything that you guys have been talking about. And it wasn't even a question about Jaden McDaniels. But Ant, the good leader that he is, he gives out credit to his teammates, and it's so fun.
Makes them feel like they're part of it, which is good.
Which
they need to feel that. Yeah,
he's not doing it just to make them feel good. I mean, he's trying to build them up, but I mean, it's true. These guys do make make a huge impact.
Yeah, and he even talked about Cat when I think it was John Krasinski asked Cat about how he's
stat stuffer,
being a stat stuffer, and how he's changed this year and focused more on the defensive end, whatever. And it's now Cat's always been a really good defender. We're just trying to get the best out of him with everybody else supporting him this time, rather than.
And he also gassed up Finchie.
Yeah, that was a leadership.
And he also gassed up Finchie in that, saying that's been what Chris Finch has just hammered home the entire time that they've been here. Cat is guarding Durant and Jokic in these two series. That's been his primary matchup, and he's shutting them down. It's unreal.
Pretty cool.
Jokic pretty cool. Terrible. He looked bad.
How about Naz Reid?
He's okay.
Naz Reid coming in clutch from 3. I mean, if we're making our threes, like I said, we could still make more. I mean, Kyle Anderson shooting a 3 is just so ugly, man. But hey, if it goes in, I'm all for it.
He's such a frustrating player, isn't he? 1 minute he makes a nice steal or a nice block, a nice assist, and then the next
he's good for at least 2 of those what the hell are you doing type plays a game. But he had a really positive impact on that last game, like soaking up a lot of those Rudy minutes. I thought that he overall played well. He can, if he took 1 or 2 shots a game, and only if they are right around the basket, I would be very okay with that moving forward, though. Yeah. But he's important to this team as well.
When he gets the ball at the top of the key there, and he tries to do the swing around pass here, swing around pass here, nope, they're guarded, and then he looks down low, guarded.
Okay, elbow jumper.
And he brick. Oh, that's where I just hit myself in the face. I'm
he's going to be really important. I wonder if some of these teams start to, again, we're talking about what can they do if we see someone switch to a little bit of a zone D. He's our zone buster. Like, he's sitting at that elbow, finding open spots for other guys. So I could see something like that, whether it's this series or potentially next series. I know OKC was running a little bit of zone right before we jumped on today. So I think he'll continue to play important minutes, but it can just be very awkward to watch sometimes.
I'll mention this tweet while I still have it up here for a lot of minutes. There's a guy on Twitter who literally said, it's got 748 likes right now and 71 retweets, me included, he will tattoo the words Naz Reid on anyone for $20. He's dead serious. And apparently
is he an actual tattoo artist?
Yes, he is. I looked on his profile, and he is a tattoo apprentice. He says, so stoked for the interest to streamline things. Email me at nazreedtattoos at gmail.com. Wolves back. So he's getting an influx of people.
So much interest that he had to create a separate email account just for the Nas Reed
Email.
tattoos. That's incredible.
Yeah, here we go. This guy goes, during a random game this season, I can't even remember which one. Nas did something, I can't remember what, but I said out loud, if we win the title, I'll get Nas Reed tattooed on me. I'm honestly considering first tattoo, Nas Reed would be pretty
Are
epic.
you being serious, Kev? If they win, are you going to get Nas Reed tattooed on your body?
On my forehead. No.
You can't say that
I
on
mean-
the podcast and not mean it.
Yeah, I would get it. Probably just like
On your lower back,
all the way down the arm.
Nas Reed.
you'd have it vertical. You'd have it going.
I don't know. Maybe just like the towel. It's like a Nas Reed towel.
Or would you have it wrapped around
There you
your bicep? That would be cool. Instead of the barbed wire, have just Nas Reed barbed wire.
With everyone so confused what it says. But yeah, so those are just a couple of tweets I found here. Twitter's been so fun ever since late last night. I mean, I stayed up well past the game was over just because you felt like a little kid again, which is cool. I mean, that's what it's bringing me back to. And like, you see, what's cool is I just enjoy all the little moments. Like when Michael Grady is talking, he's make sure to enjoy this. Like we mentioned already, like you don't know where we're going to be the next time this happens. Sure, we're only in the second round, but we mentioned it's a different feeling. It's remember where you were watching this game and this team, because it could be it, and been back since 20 years, and you don't want to look back at that in 4 years and go, man, we suck. Remember all those picks we traded for Gobert, and now our team sucks or whatever, and why didn't I care when we were actually good? Like, it just makes staying up worth it, and like, I'm so excited for Friday. I don't think I've felt this excited for a Minnesota sports game as long as I can remember, to be honest.
I know what you guys were saying about the 09 Vikings. That's kind of how I feel too, but with a little bit more of a 2017 Vikings, like what you said that one day, Pat, team of destiny. So it feels like the Wolves right now are a team of destiny with also the best roster, best defense, best coaching staff right now. So it's
good to have both.
Feels like history in the making. And the buzz about it around town, even at work today. Now, granted, I was talking about the Wolves a ton, and so, but like everybody else was really interested too. Even people who don't necessarily follow the Wolves or basketball in general, but the buzz is getting around. It just feels like something's about to happen.
It reminds me of a specific memory that I used to have when the Twins would make it in the postseason when I was in like elementary school, and everybody would wear their jerseys to school and their Twins gear, and then all of the teachers would turn on, since we'd play during the day, they'd turn on the games, or we'd all go to the cafeteria and watch it. Like, the world stops. Like, the Twins are really good. Like, we have to watch. Everybody's talking about it, Like, it's going to be that type of a if and when. I'll start saying when we get this sweep on Sunday night, it's going to be that type of feel, and we're going to have probably a whole week of rest, because I think they're still going to have to wait. I've looked into this a little bit. They're still going to have to wait for the Eastern Conference to be finalized in whatever series that is. So I believe the very first day it could be played, if both East and West get settled relatively fast, would be the 19th, would be the first. I love how much I'm looking ahead, but I kind of have to look ahead just for planning out our schedules and stuff. You don't want to double book anything now. We got the Wolves. That's all that matters. Podcast Wolves. So May 19th is the first day that we might be looking at our first Western Conference Finals appearance since 2004.
That's.
Did you guys hear it talking about Game 3?
I don't think I did.
A little bit. He pretty much said, Denver, all they need to do is hit their shots, and they're not going to go away quietly. and they're going to come back in game 3 and they're going to play well, and they're going to shoot a lot better than what they did tonight. And for me,
Jeez.
I think that's a
Yeah.
good mentality to have, because they're
That's
expecting a dogfight. And me over here, and this is why I'm over here and not playing on the court. My mentality is that the series is over, but their mentality is it's not over yet, and we still have to go out there and finish it off.
Yep.
And so I was really glad to hear Edwards speaking like that. It's kind of like when Kobe has that press conference a few years ago, and Kobe, why aren't you happy? He's just, man, job not done. Job not done yet. It's just 2-0. It's the same thing, but kind of like what Brian Windhurst said, is that does the same thing that Kobe did with a smile, but Kobe
Yep.
did it with a scowl. You know? And so it's just, he's an interesting guy. He's really fun to watch, and I love that he's on our team.
It's been so fun to watch him grow and just let everybody else see what. I mean, I don't want to watch too much of the national media stuff now. I'll just focus on our local news and everything, and just kind of fall in love with this team in the way that it should, because they're all watching what we've been watching, and it's just cool to see. He is that special, and we have the surrounding pieces. Like, they're all there. Everyone's healthy. Knock on wood, minus our head coach. Like, it's just all in front of us. So, that, like you said, just job's not done. Take care of business. Got Friday night, then Sunday night. So I believe it's, 8:30 on Friday night. Gonna be a electric night at Target Center. Fans are gonna be amped up. They're not gonna let us throw up a dud at home on that night. I can guarantee it.
I remember kind of for sure is my first experience to who Anthony Edwards was that interview that he had with Marty Gellner. And he's like, what do you say? Something about, if it's ping pong, I'm going to win. I'm going to beat you in hockey. I'm going to beat you in golf. And Marty just keeps listing off all these other sports. And I'm telling you, whatever sport we're doing, I'm going to beat you. I'm sitting here watching. I'm like, who is this guy? I couldn't tell if he's that competitive or if it was a shtick. I just couldn't figure out who he was. And it's coming out, and clearly he was telling the truth. He wasn't joking. It wasn't to be funny. It was funny, but it wasn't to be funny. He's that competitive, and he wants to win that.
It's the combination of that killer instinct that we talked about. It's just what you said with Wendy. It's the killer instinct, also mixed with one of the most charismatic superstars that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a player who is like that. Like, I legitimately cannot think of somebody who has that level of charisma and humor, who also will literally run you over and dunk in your face and let you know about it too. Is it cool? Yep.
He's got a lot going for him, and just the leadership qualities. In this day and age, you need to build people up. You need to hold them accountable, and he does that. He does that. He holds people accountable, but he just doesn't tear people down. And it's absolutely, people like to play with somebody like that or work with somebody like that. He's gonna draw people.
It was so fun to watch him, because we've watched this playoffs. We know what he's trying to do, and he slices defenses. Like, he knows their weakness. He knows how to attack them. When he has Aaron Gordon on him, he is cooking it. He wants that smoke. When he has Reggie Jackson on him, he wants that matchup. Like, even KCP, their best defender, I mean, he loves for the thrill of it. Nobody can stop him right now. And it's just so fun to watch. Like, he's fearless. He's literally fearless, and he's gotten to that point where you feel confident in him leading us to wherever we need to go. And everybody else is just along for the ride, kind of like how Shaq and Chuck were talking. I think it was Kenny was talking, and he's like, you got that. When you have that man,
Yep,
he's going to pull you through. He's going to pull you through all the way. So,
and Kev, absolutely, he was slicing and dicing. His jump shot was not falling in game 3. or game 2. It wasn't falling. He wasn't shooting well. And so what did he do?
Yep.
He just drove to the hoop, and he's starting to get those star calls around the basket.
Absolutely.
Have you guys noticed?
Absolutely.
Kind of what we talked about a couple episodes ago, where, are the Wolves going through a little bit of referee hazing is kind of what I suggested. And it seems like they have come out the other side of that. Like, I thought he had got some calls that he might not have gotten, a few months ago. But his ability to just get to the hoop is
and it
incredible.
could be, and we alluded to this earlier too, but it could be like in the regular season, we talked about this last episode, Ant was complaining a lot about fouls, but in these first 2 series, Devin Booker was complaining a hell of a lot more than Ant was, and Jamal Murray is complaining a hell of a lot more than Ant was too. So when you have that combination, refs want to give you those fouls. You know what I mean? If you're on the opposite side of that too. So I think that's also part of it. All right. So real quick, because I think my answer has changed recently. How many guys in the league, your GM fantasy draft, are you taking ahead of Anthony Edwards right now?
Not one.
Not a one. I don't think there's a single player that has the, like you said, Pat, the charisma and the leadership and
The intangibles.
the intangible things you can coach. That is almost as valuable as his skill. So I don't think you have somebody that has both of those that are in an absolute elite level.
I want to try and take my Homer blinders off too, because that's where I'm at right now as well. And I'm even just trying to think of guys who would be in that same conversation. And obviously it's Jokic, right? We're talking about a guy who's probably going to win his 3rd MVP. Luka.
But even Jokic, look at what he said after game 1. He was defeated after game 1. He said the only way they could game plan to win is if they cloned him. I mean, that's kind of, I understand what he's saying, and he's probably right, but it's like, that's
right,
kind of weak-minded for a defending champ 3-time MVP.
I agree. I mean, well, that's been the knock on Jokic too, is he doesn't love the game of basketball. And I don't know how true or not that is, because we've talked about how those bogus reports about Anthony Edwards not loving the game of basketball came out when he was a draft prospect. But yeah, I mean, this whole team just feels like they're tired and not ready for the grind to, take it all the way to the Western Conference Finals and then the NBA championship. So yeah, I hear you guys. I don't know. Like I think it's got to be Anthony Edwards right now. And if you asked me this before the playoffs had started, I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 guys, 5 guys who you probably would put ahead of him. But he has arrived. He is here. He's 22 years old, bona fide superstar in this league. And I don't know if it's too early to call MVP for the 2025 NBA season, but his name is going to be in that conversation. If he does not finish top 3, I will be shocked by the end of next season. But maybe we don't need him to. Maybe we don't need him to, because we have such a stacked roster right now.
Finals MVP is cooler.
And I hate to take such a zoomed out approach, because I just want to focus on this series and whatever, get done with this. But if you really just sit back and think of like how it could go, which is super fun for me to envision, is okay, you beat KD and the Suns, your idol. You beat the reigning champs and a possible MVP in Jokic. Then probably the Thunder or Luka. Either way, you're beating Shea or Luka to go to the finals, and then beating like Tatum and that number 1 team in the NBA all year.
Yeah,
that would, and then you're going to Paris this summer to play USA basketball and be on the team with the guys that you just beat.
If he doesn't start
pretty cool
on that team, I think they said he took Devin Booker's 2 guard starting spot away at that. If he doesn't start on that team after this, I will have some serious question marks. But yeah, I mean, that's the world that we're living in right now, right? Because those are the guys who, before the playoffs started, you would put Anthony Edwards in the same conversation as. And I think if you're polling non-Minnesotans, I think that they would take SGA, Luka, for sure Jokic above Anthony Edwards, but it's going to be really interesting to see how this series and the Western Conference Finals play out, and if he continues to assert his dominance in these games.
It's going to be really fun to watch for sure. I mean, I'm just excited for this weekend. Can't wait to get it started. And thanks for tuning in, guys. It was another fun episode. We got a Thursday night, probably preview game 3, and then just a little bit of Pat's picks. I heard Pat's picks round 2 is coming in hot, so stay tuned for that.
Schedule release, or is that next week?
I suppose it's next week. I just found out. We thought it was going to be this Thursday, but I guess it's next week. So the NFL probably just wanted to change a bunch of stuff in the last week just to make us mad. So if we play Kirk in London, I'll be mad. That's all.
That's a home game, is
it? It is a home game, so that I want to go. All right.
I hate when home games are in London.
Well, now that we have the 17th game, I think it's like the 9th home game, right?
Yeah, but still, somebody's losing a home game.
That's true. I like our London fans. For all you London, UK Scolders out there.
Keep on.
Keep on keeping on. All right. Later, guys. Go Wolves.
Go Wolves.
I got 'em.